Chapter 4. Netherese Hunger. At first, Gale thought survival would feel like victory. It did not. Survival felt like calculation. It felt like waking before dawn with one hand already pressed to his chest, counting the seconds between pulses. It felt like cataloguing every enchanted object in the tower by strength, age, school, and sentimental value. It felt like learning the difference between hunger and pain, though the distinction was often academic and never comforting. Pain was sharp, hunger had patience. Pain could be endured, at least for a time. Gale had burned his fingers on careless spellwork as a boy, split his palms on shattered glass, taken the sting of failed wards and miscast shields. Pain was an event. It announced itself, demanded attention, and then, with luck, receded. The hunger stayed. It lived beneath his sternum like a second heart with no affection for the first. It ticked in the dark. It listened when magic moved nearby. It turned toward enchantments the way a starving man turned toward bread. And when it fed, it tasted like memory. That was the part he hated most. The first artifact Tara brought him was a little silver brooch enchanted to play a lullaby when touched. "Where did you get this?" Gale asked. Tara set it on the table between them and folded her wings with great care. Her injured one had healed badly enough to make him feel sick whenever he looked at it too long. "A market stall near the sea ward." "That does not answer the question. It answers the only part you need." Tara. "Mr. Dekarios." They stared at each other across the table. The tower was too quiet around them. Gale had not noticed how large the rooms were until he stopped letting anyone inside them. Books stood in obedient rows. Instruments lay covered. The great windows overlooked Waterdeep, bright and indifferent below. He had once imagined a tower as proof that he had arrived. Now it was a container. For him. For the orb. For the ruin he was trying not to become. "I asked where you got it," he said, "and I implied that you should be grateful rather than interrogative." "You stole it." Tara's ears flattened. "I acquired it." Tara. It was sitting in a box with 3 cracked rings and a spoon that stirred soup badly. No one will mourn it. It belonged to someone. Most things do. Gale looked down at the brooch. Its magic was small, gentle, domestic. A scrap of comfort someone had woven into silver, perhaps for a child, perhaps for an old woman, perhaps for someone who did not like sleeping alone. The orb stirred. Gale shut his eyes. "No." "Yes," Tara said. "I can wait." "You cannot." "I can." "You have been saying that for 6 hours." "I am practicing restraint." "You are sweating through your shirt and nearly set the curtains on fire when I opened the door." That was unrelated. It was extremely related. The brooch began to hum. Gale's hand twitched. He curled his fingers into a fist so tightly his nails bit his palm. "No," he said again, though he no longer knew whether he was speaking to Tara, the orb, or himself. Tara's voice softened. "It is not evil to need." The words struck too close. His eyes opened. "Do not say it like that." "Like what?" "Like this is hunger, like this is ordinary, like I am some wounded animal you found beneath a cart." Tara stepped closer across the table. "You are wounded. I am dangerous." "Yes." He laughed once, bitterly. "You might soften that." "No, you are dangerous, that is true, but danger is not the same as evil." The orb pulsed. The brooch answered with a trembling chime, one note of the lullaby escaping into the room. Gale flinched. "I do not crave destruction," he said. "I know. I don't want this. I know. I don't want to take things apart just to remain breathing. I know." The lullaby played another note. Something in him turned toward it with a force so violent that his chair scraped backward. Gale gripped the edge of the table, breath breaking. "Tara," he whispered, "I'm here. If I do this, what am I?" "Alive." The word was too small, too enormous. He reached for the brooch. The moment his fingers touched the silver, the orb opened. Not visibly, not to anyone else. But Gale felt it unfold inside him, black and bright, a star made of apatite. The enchantment in the brooch lifted like steam. The lullaby spilled through his palm and into his chest. A cradle. A dim room. A woman humming under her breath. A child's hand clutching the blanket. Then nothing. The brooch dulled. Its silver remained. Its shape remained. But whatever had made it more than metal was gone. Gale bent forward over the table, gasping. For one blessed minute, the ticking stopped. His body went loose with relief so complete it was almost obscene. Then shame arrived. It always did. He pushed the brooch away as though it had burned him. I ate it. Tara did not speak. I ate someone's lullaby. You survived. He looked at her, hollow-eyed. Do not make those the same thing. They are the same thing tonight. No. Yes. No, he snapped, and the lamps flared. Tara did not move. The flare died as quickly as it had come. Gale covered his face with both hands. I'm sorry. I know. He hated that phrase now. Mystra had ruined it. Tara seemed to realize because she did not say it again. Instead, she climbed onto the table and pressed her forehead against his wrist. Gale froze. Then, very carefully, he lowered one hand and rested two fingers between her ears. I don't want the world to burn, he whispered. Tara closed her eyes. Then we will keep it from burning. He laughed weakly. We? Yes. You should not bind yourself to this. I do not recall asking your permission. That is not funny. It was not meant to be. He bowed his head. The brooch lay dead between them. The tower breathed around them, and beneath his ribs, sated for now, the hunger slept. Over the years they developed rules made terror smaller, not less real, but measurable. Gale could not bear what had happened to him as a curse or a tragedy or a divine punishment. Those words were too large. They filled rooms. They left no space to work. But a condition could be studied. A condition could be managed. So Gale made charts. He recorded the interval between feedings, the strength of each artifact consumed, the school of magic involved, the degree of relief, the duration of stabilization, and the after-effects. He invented a scale of hunger from 1 to 10, then abandoned it when Tara pointed out that he described both 5 and 8 as intolerable but not yet catastrophic. That is a meaningful distinction, Gale insisted. It is a wizard distinction. I am a wizard. I have noticed. They sat together at the long work table beneath the western window. Outside, Waterdeep glittered in the evening light, all gold rooftops and gull cries. Inside, Gale's notes covered every available surface. Tara examined one column with grave suspicion. You have written manageable here. Yes. And what did manageable mean in this instance? That I remained conscious. Ah. Tara. I am only saying ah. You are saying volumes. Then read them. He frowned at the paper. She was right, of course. She was usually right, which was one of her more irritating habits. He crossed out manageable and replaced it with severe, but contained. Better? Marginally. You are a difficult research assistant. You are a difficult patient. I am not a patient. Tara looked at him. Gale sighed. I am not only a patient. That she accepted. He learned the orb preferred older magic, stronger magic, objects steeped in use. A newly enchanted trinket might quiet it for hours. A relic could buy days. Items tied to powerful emotion had unpredictable effects. Once, an old dueling ring sent him into a fever for nearly an entire night, filling his dreams with another man's rage until he woke shouting an apology to someone named Merith. After that, Tara became more careful. So did he. There were lines they tried not to cross. They did not take heirlooms if they could avoid it. They did not take anything that still had an owner who loved it. They did not take from temples. They did not take from the poor. They did not take from children. They did not always succeed. That was another truth Gale learned to hate. Survival did not make him noble. It only made him desperate with a schedule. He sold books first, then instruments, then robes, jewelry, old awards, a silver decanter he had never liked, 3 paintings he had inherited from a relative whose name he could barely remember, and eventually the little enchanted reading lamp his mother had sent him during his 2nd year at Blackstaff. He held that one for a long time. Tara said nothing. The lamp had a minor charm on it, nothing grand. It warmed the light during winter evenings and cooled it in summer. Morena had written in the accompanying letter that she knew he would strain his eyes reading regardless of what she said, so the least she could do was conspire with the lamp. Gale had laughed when he first read it. He did not laugh now. The orb twisted, his vision blurred. "I can find something else," Tara said. "No. You can wait another hour." "No." Gale. "If you go now, you may not come back before it worsens. I have managed before. You were nearly caught last time. By a fishmonger, I was in no danger. He had a broom. A common mistake. Many people believe brooms are weapons." The lamp hummed softly in Gale's hands. Memory rose with the magic. Morena's handwriting, pressed flowers, a note reminding him to eat something green. The way she had once called him her little spark and kissed his hair because she thought pride should be warmer than fear. The orb opened its black mouth. Gale closed his eyes. "I'm sorry," he whispered. He fed it the lamp. The tower went darker afterward. Not entirely. Just enough. Letters from his mother starting arriving less often. Then after more years, more often. That was how Gale knew she had begun to worry. At first, she wrote of ordinary things: weather, neighbors, the state of the garden, a cousin's new baby, a merchant who had tried to sell her a self-sweeping broom that mostly chased the cat. Then the letters changed. "My dearest Gale, I know you are busy, but I would very much like to see your face. If you cannot visit, write. If you cannot write much, write little. A mother can live on scraps when she must, though she would prefer not to." He read that one 3 times, then folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. He did not answer. The next came 10 days later. "My little spark, forgive me. I know you are a grown man and dislike being fussed over. I will fuss anyway. You sounded tired in your last letter. Not in the words, mind you. You remain very skilled at words, but between them. Something is wrong between them." He put that one in the same drawer. He did not answer. Answering required lies, and Gale was tired of lying badly. Truth was worse. How could he write it? "Dear Mother, I am housing a magical catastrophe in my chest because I tried to prove myself worthy to a goddess who no longer comes when I call. If I do not regularly consume enchanted objects, I will die and possibly destroy everything near me. Please do not worry. No." Better silence. Silence hurt her less precisely, or so he told himself. Tara disagreed. "You are punishing her for loving you," she said one morning. Gale looked up from his notes. The hunger was at a 3, perhaps 4, low enough that he could think, high enough that kindness was difficult. "That is not what I'm doing." "What are you doing?" "Protecting her." "From what?" "From me." Tara sat very still. He hated that too, the way she made stillness into accusation. "She is your mother," Tara said. "I am aware. She already knows something is wrong. She knows I am busy. She knows you are suffering." His quill scratched too hard across the page, tearing the paper. Gale stared at the rip. Then he set the quill down. "If I see her," he said quietly, "she will know." "Yes." "And if she knows, she will try to help." "Yes." "And if she tries to help, she will come here." Tara's expression softened. Gale pressed one hand to his chest. "I cannot have her near this." For once, Tara did not argue. That was mercy. It felt worse than argument. The city developed rumors. Of course it did. Waterdeep was a city of rumors. It fed on secrets almost as efficiently as the orb fed on magic. A reclusive wizard in a tower selling off old belongings and purchasing strange trinkets through intermediaries was not a secret, it was an invitation. Some said he had gone mad, some said he was building something, some said he had been cursed by a rival. Some said he was chasing lichdom, which offended him so deeply that he spent half an hour drafting a correction before realizing he had no one to send it to. A lich, he muttered, as if I would be so aesthetically lazy. Tara, perched on the back of a chair with a pouch of minor enchanted beads at her feet, blinked slowly. That is your objection. It is one of several. Not the murder, the undeath, the soul phylactery? Obviously those as well. Obviously. He reached for one of the beads. The orb stirred greedily. He stopped. Tara noticed. You are allowed to need it. I know. No, you do not. He closed his fingers around the bead. It had once belonged to a bracelet that changed color according to the wearer's mood. The magic tasted like laughter, vanity, a market in spring, a young woman admiring her wrist in a polished window. Gale swallowed it down. The relief was smaller than it had been last week. That terrified him. He wrote the duration in his chart with a steady hand. Tara watched. Less? She asked. Somewhat. How much somewhat? He did not answer. Gale. 2 hours. The room went quiet. Tara's tail stilled. That is not somewhat. It is within predicted variance. Is it? No. He put the quill down. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Outside, gulls shrieked above the harbour. Somewhere below, life continued rudely. Carts rolled, children shouted, merchants argued over prices. Lovers leaned over balconies. Bells rang. People bought bread, spilled wine, forgot appointments, kissed cheeks, slammed doors, lit hearths. The world remained full of ordinary magic. Gale feared he would eat it all. I am not a madman, he said. Tara's eyes softened. No, I need you to know that. I do. I know what this looks like. I know how the stories go. Wizard reaches too far. Wizard gets cursed. Wizard starts consuming magical artifacts. Wizard becomes the very thing everyone warned him about. Stories are lazy. Sometimes they are accurate. Not this one. He laughed, but it hurt. I am still of this earth, Tara. I know. I am still myself. Yes. The hunger ticked once beneath his ribs. Gale flinched. Tara stepped closer. He shut his eyes. I am still myself, he repeated. This time it sounded like a spell. There were bad days. There were days when he woke with no memory of crossing the room, only the taste of burned enchantment on his tongue and a dead object in his hand. There were days when Tara would not let him near the windows because the weather vanes across the street were enchanted and the orb could feel them. There were days when the tower wards buckled under the pressure of what he held, and Gale spent hours reinforcing them while sweat ran down his spine and black-blue light pulsed through the cracks in his skin. There were days when he thought of writing to Mystra, not to ask forgiveness. He told himself that, not to beg, certainly not. Only to report progress, to demonstrate containment, to prove he had learned, to show her that he was not a danger, not a failure, not a child reaching for forbidden doors. He never sent those letters either. There were many things Gale wrote and did not send. To Mother, I miss you. To Elara, you were right. To Mystra, please. To Tara, once, absurdly, when she had been gone for 2 days and he had been half out of his mind with hunger. Come back. He burned that one before she returned. She returned with a cracked wand, 2 enchanted thimbles, a brooch that made the wearer smell faintly of roses, and a look of such exhausted triumph that Gale nearly wept. You were gone so long, he said. I had difficulty. What difficulty? The kind that ended. Tara. I am here now. That is not an answer. It is the answer you need. He hated that. He loved her for it. She dropped the items onto the table and then, with immense dignity, collapsed sideways. Gale was beside her in an instant. Tara. I am resting dramatically. You're bleeding. Dramatically. Tara. It is a scratch. It is not a scratch. It will become one retroactively if you stop fussing. His hands shook as he examined the cut along her flank. Not deep, not shallow enough. A narrow line of red against her fur, already clotting. Who did this? No one who will do it again. Tara. Do not use that tone. You are not the only one allowed to make dangerous decisions in this household. He looked at her. The words landed. This household. Not prison. Not ruin. Not penance. Household. You should not have to do this, he said. No. I am sorry. Yes. I mean it. I know. The phrase hurt less from her now. He cleaned the wound. His hands were gentle, competent, miserable. Tara allowed the indignity because she was tired and because he needed to be useful in some way that did not end in destruction. When he finished, she looked at the items on the table. Eat. I should bandage. Eat. I can wait. She bared her teeth. He ate. The cracked wand tasted like dueling practice and rain on stone. The thimbles tasted of tiny household mending spells, of thread, lamplight, and quiet hands. The rose brooch tasted like vanity and grief. The hunger quieted. Gale bowed his head. Tara, bandaged and exhausted, dragged herself into his lap without asking permission. He froze, then wrapped both arms around her. I'm outrunning loss, he whispered. Tara's ear flicked against his sleeve. No, she said sleepily, you are surviving. He looked out the window at the city below. I'm not sure there is a difference. There is. What? Surviving lets you stop someday. He had no answer for that, so he held her while she slept. The day the ship came, the hunger was low. That was the cruelest part. Not gone, never gone, but manageable enough that Gale had slept 4 uninterrupted hours and woken with only moderate pain. He had washed, shaved badly, changed into a robe without scorch marks. He had even opened one of Morena's letters and read the first line before the shame grew too large. My dearest boy, he folded it again with careful hands. I'll answer today, he told the empty room. Tara had gone before dawn. She had left a note on the table, written in her neat, severe little script. Do not attempt to reorganize the western shelves while I am gone. You are not as subtle as you believe. Beneath it, after a pause visible in the ink, eat the amber ring at noon if I am not back. And then, I will return. Gale touched the last line with 2 fingers. I know, he said. The tower felt almost peaceful. That should have frightened him. By midday, the amber ring was still on the table. He had not eaten it. The orb had stirred twice, but lightly. Gale found himself foolishly proud of this, as if restraint were a moral victory and not merely luck. He sat at his desk and began a letter. Mother? Too formal. He crossed it out. Dear Mother. Still too thin. He stared at the words until they blurred. What could he say? I am sorry. That was true, but useless. I have been unwell. Also true, almost insulting in its inadequacy. I miss you. Too dangerous. If he wrote that, she would come. He dipped the quill again. The room tilted. Not from the orb. From outside. The light at the window changed. Gale looked up. For one impossible second, the sky over Waterdeep was wrong. Not storm dark, not sunset. Wrong. A shadow slid across the tower, vast and organic, blocking the sun with a shape that made no sense to the eye. Curved hull, tendrils, membranes. A thing like a ship and a carcass, and a nightmare all at once. Gale stood. The orb reacted before he did. It recoiled. That terrified him more than the shadow. A sound split the air. Not thunder. Not magic. A scream made of distance and thought. Every ward in the tower flared. Gale threw out both hands, spellwork snapping into place around him. Shield, anchor, counterpull. He did not know what he was fighting yet, but instinct had always been faster than terror. The window exploded inward. Glass became stars, wind became hands. Something seized his mind. Gale gasped. For one wild moment, he felt the orb lunge, hungry and furious, toward the intrusion. Then pain tore through him, bright and alien. His spell shattered. His knees struck the floor. Images flooded him. Wet dark. Purple light. A tadpole's blind, seeking mouth. No. He tried to speak Tara's name. Nothing came out, and then he felt himself pulled out of the tower. His last thought was not of Mystra. Not of the orb. Not of magic. It was of the note on the table. I will return. Then the Mind Flayer ship took him. Tara returned at dusk. She came through the western window with a silver chain in her mouth and mud on one wing, already composing a lecture about amber rings, unsupervised shelving, and the dangers of brooding near open books. The lecture died before she landed. The tower was silent. Not Gale silent, which was never truly silent at all. Gale silent had muttering, pages turning, kettle shrieks, the scratch of quills, the occasional thump of a book dropped from an impractical height. This was empty. Tara set the chain down. Gale? No answer. Her ears angled forward. The room was wrong, papers scattered, wards burned down to ash lines across the floor. Glass glittered beneath the window, one chair lay overturned, the amber ring still sat on the table. Uneaten. Tara's heart began to pound. Gale. She moved through the tower quickly, then faster, then with no dignity at all. Study. Library. Bedroom. Workroom. Rooftop. No Gale. No body. No blood. No note. In the main room, she found Morena's letter folded beside an unfinished page. Dear Mother, nothing more. Tara stared at it, then at her own note. I will return. She had. He had not. For the first time since she had known Gale Dekarios, Tara did not know what to do. The silver chain lay forgotten on the floor. Its enchantment hummed softly, uselessly. The tower waited. Empty. Tara climbed onto the desk and pressed one paw to the place where Gale's hand had rested in ink and dust. Then she lifted her head toward the broken window, toward the darkening sky, toward whatever had taken him. No, she said, it was not grief. Not yet. It was a promise. And far away, beyond her knowing, Gale Dekarios woke screaming beneath alien light.
Magic tastes like memory, like ruins ground to dust. I don't crave destruction, I crave trust. They call it monstrous, they call it wrong, but it keeps my heart beating it strong. I eat the past to stay alive. Borrow power, borrow time. I don't want the world to burn, I just don't wanna die. I measure days in careful spells, count my hunger, not my worth. I am not a madman, I am still of this earth. I eat the past to stay alive. If that makes me curse, so be it, I survive. Every promise I swallowed, every line I crossed. I'm not chasing power, I'm outrunning loss. It isn't